I'm John Paul Fischbach. I'm the Executive Director of the Auspicious Incubator in Melbourne. I've just been up in Brisbane spending 2 days with Youth Arts Queensland and QTC, Queensland Theatre Company, presenting a day on value-based language. And Imogene has asked me to share about 15 minutes with you guys of some of the things that we covered in that day, since out in the regions you didn't get a chance to come in, but there's still some benefit that I think we can share with you. So for the next 15 minutes or so, I want to take you through some of the fundamentals. So I've jotted a few notes, and let me run you through some stuff that's the essence of value-based language. I think that it all starts because the internet and social media have changed the marketing landscape forever. The way we market the arts is now completely different than the way we did before. The biggest difference is a 2.0 structure. In old marketing, it was what we call push marketing. We put all our material and we just shoved it out at people. But right now we find that it's a two-way street. There's a conversation happening. Audiences want to know more and they want to connect more. The fundamental difference for us in the arts is audiences are no longer a faceless mass in the dark beyond the fourth wall. They actually want to meet us. We have a chance to converse with them and meet them. We can begin to have conversations with them. The most important part of the thing is that we can start to build relationships. And value-based language is a technique to build relationships that last and grow and produce more support, more fans, more sponsorship dollars. So in the seminar, I described value-based language as a bit of alchemy. There's a bunch of special ingredients that all come together at the right time to make value-based language work. So if I were to help you understand, the critical thing to start with is that when we use value, the word value, we use it without an S. If it's with an S, values, we mean things like world peace and the elimination of hunger. When we use it without an S, value, it means something that someone is interested enough to spend their time and their money on. So value in value-based language is the sum of all of the benefits that are associated with an arts experience. Some of those benefits are real, and some of those benefits are imaginary. Some of them really happen, some happen just in people's minds. These benefits occur before your art event ever happens. They occur absolutely during the event, and a lot of these benefits happen after as people talk about it and they share the experience that they had. The value is experienced at an individual level. It's experienced at a family level, at a community level, or at a large society level. These values can be experienced consciously. They can be absolutely aware that this is what they're experiencing and the value and the benefit they're receiving, or sometimes it's subconscious. So it's up to you. You can communicate these benefits explicitly or implicitly. The key to value-based language is that if people experience value and receive benefit from your programs, you can't keep them away. So value-based language is about making people conscious of the benefit that they received so that they place value on that arts experience and want more of it. That's really the key to it. So once you understand that value-based language is a bit of alchemy and there's a whole bunch of ingredients that go into where these benefits happen, you want to be able to track those benefits. You want to understand what impact your art has and learn the language of communicating those benefits back to people that matter to you. So really, the key to value-based language, to using value-based language, is that it's time to talk less about the product and listen more and more to the impact and what people are telling you is the impact and the benefit that they received. And that's going to be really hard for us because we are almost hardwired. It's habitual. I won't go as far as to saying it's hardwired, but it is absolutely habitual that when we start to talk about the work, we just start talking about the product. And we talk and talk and talk about the work from our point of view. We make a sweeping assumption that everyone that we're talking to will see or understand or acknowledge benefits and value. Not the case. You need to flip that language around and start asking people what benefits they received, what value they perceive in the work. Listen to what they say. Talk a lot less about the product. And that's a completely different way of talking about the art. So when we say that value-based language is a new way to talk about the art, it is. Because our habitual pattern is to talk about the art, talk about the product, talk about the show, talk about the exhibition, without ever discussing the benefits that come from it. So here's a quick example of value-based language in work, at work. You know the color purple? So it was a film, a big movie. It went on to become a Broadway show. For anyone that doesn't know, in a nutshell, A Color Purple is the story of two Black American sisters, and they together because of their sister bond. They make it through a whole bunch of hardships. So apologies, but in a nutshell, that's what it is. Well, when the show was going to go to Broadway, they were doing their out-of-town tryout in Chicago. And Oprah Winfrey phoned up to the producers and said, okay, I'm happy to sign on as a producer. And they said, well, thank you very much, Miss Winfrey, but we don't really need your money. The show's fully capitalized. Now, Oprah Winfrey is the queen of value-based language. There is nothing that Oprah Winfrey does not do that isn't value-based language. If you think about her magazine, if you think about all the stuff that Oprah does, it's benefits first. What are you going to get from this? How is this going to open your heart? How is this going to stretch your mind? How is this going to change your life? Before she ever tells you what the product is, she talks about the benefits. So she said to the Color Purple gang, no, you need my marketing team. And they said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, so you're going to go to New York. After you play to the Black American theater-going audience of Manhattan, you're going to close the show. So she deployed her marketing team for them. And what they did is they said, all right, first off, the first lesson of value-based marketing is who's the market? Who's the niche market? Who's going to love this show? Who's going to love this exhibition the most? Well, for the Color Purple, the answer is sisters. Anybody with a sister. The niche upon the niche is anyone who loves their sister. So having a sister is good, but if you love your sister, this show's really going to work for you. It's going to deliver a huge number of benefits. You're going to really value this show. So then they realized, okay, how do we get to our niche market? Well, they realized that women between the ages of 32 and 50 are the people that buy tickets, and most of them are listening to at-work radio or radio on commute. So radio was a good choice because you can still deliver a bit of a story across radio. So the ad campaign was a radio campaign that went something vaguely like this. Woman's voice, and she says, my sister's my best friend. We've gone through so much together all our lives, but we're older now, we both have families. It's hard to get together. It's been 6 months since I saw my sister. I feel terrible. Well, finally, my sister and I got together last night. We laughed, we cried, we hugged each other. I had the best time. My sister's my best friend. I am never going to let that much time go by without doing something with my sister again. Pause. A Color Purple on Broadway. So do you see what I mean? The value and the benefit went first. By the time people went, wait, I have a sister I haven't seen. I want to do something with my sister. I want to bond with my sister. Those are all the values and benefits. Then they were absolutely listening to go, what do I do? What do I do with my sister? What? Color Purple on Broadway, what is that? What do I do? So then they could Google Color Purple on Broadway, buy a ticket, and away you go. Now the thing about value-based language is, that's all true. That will happen. If you have a sister that you love, you will bond with your sister in that show. It will be a value and a benefit that's truly delivered. So it's not a bunch of marketing spin. It's not a spin like if you were talking about the phenomenon, just the show. And when you're talking about values and benefits, they are things that truly, truly happen. And again, sometimes they happen before the show. So in that case, if you have a sister and you want to do something, just booking the ticket starts to accrue benefits of the fact that the Color Purple is on Broadway. Because now you've hooked up with your sister, you've planned a night. When you see the show, you're going to bond, you're going to cry, you're going to share emotion together. And after the show, a whole bunch of benefits as you talk about it. And you talk about your own struggles that you had that you and your sister solved. Make sense? So the thing about art is that it communicates through felt experience, right? And that experience is personal, it's subjective, and it's a response to that work is where the benefits and the values lie. So it's up to you as an artist to start tracking that process of what happens once the explosion of your art goes. So we'd like to show you a little bit of an image that helps describe the idea of this art explosion and the benefits that fly toward the explosion and the benefits that fly out of the explosion. So have a look at this little image. So what I'm trying to show you in this little diagram is that there's a bunch of benefits that just by the announcement of your show or the advertising of the exhibition, a bunch of benefits start to accrue, like in the example of the Color Purple story I told you. Now, your job as an arts marketer is that's called an anticipation campaign. And you can build anticipation for your show if you can describe and be conscious of the benefits that are going to start to happen just by people booking, or just by people understanding that it's coming to town, or just by people understanding that the community is gathering to develop this kind of a show. Then in the middle of the explosion is all the benefits that happen during the experience. And what we call that is managing expectations campaign. So if you can help people understand all the benefits that are happening while the experience is going on, they're going to have a deeper, richer experience. And then afterward is where the huge number of benefits happen. As people talk about your exhibition or talk about your show, they start to deliver a whole bunch, well, they start to generate a whole bunch of other benefits or discover a whole bunch of benefits that come. And we call that managing relationships or building or sustaining relationships. So if, again, you can help people be conscious of all the things that happened now that they're reflecting on that show or reflecting on your art experience, that's a whole bunch more benefits. So once you understand that explosion diagram, what we did in the seminar was that we combed through hundreds and hundreds of actual impact statements. So ways that people actually describe the benefits that they experienced from an art exposure, an art event, a show, a concert. Now some of these benefits were at the individual level. Some of these benefits were at a family level or with partners or small groups. Some of the benefits were at a community level. So that could be the community that created the art or participated in the art, or a community that went together to experience the art. And some were at a large societal level. So we went through these long lists and we looked at hundreds and hundreds of these statements. And then everyone in the seminar circled ones that said, oh yeah, I know that happens when I do my art. So once you realize that these benefits happen, or that these are benefits that accrue to people during, before, or after your art experience, now you have something to start talking about. Then we compiled some lists that said, all right, in having conversations, there's some conversations with people who already care, and there's some conversations that you need to have with people who you need to care. So we made a little list of people who care and people who need to care. And then we looked at those benefits and said, start a conversation with these people around these benefits. Don't start talking about the product. You don't, talk to the Prime Minister about the title of your new show. She's just not interested. But if you want to talk to the Prime Minister about social cohesion and social profit and creative capital, great. Somewhere down the road, she might ask you what it is you do. But the benefit and the value of what you do is a larger conversation, a much more meaningful conversation, a conversation that's not specifically tied to the title of your current show. So I encourage you to start having these conversations with people about value and benefit, not a conversation about the title of your show. So I would leave you with one little comment that I think is important to kind of put into your brain. That if we can't communicate clearly and persuasively about how our art benefits people, how can we possibly expect other people to support ourselves and our programs?